morning, everybody. Single rider in India. Now Karen's sort of gone off and had a Ayurvedic massage. Now I'm not sure, it might be one of those happy ending ones, but I'm not really sure. So I've had a couple of hours. But be that as may. I thought it'd be nice just to actually really have a look at this bike and sort of bullets in these Classic 350s. I'm not going to differentiate between the two because I think that the Classic 350 is a bullet by any other name, isn't it really? Just with a few odd different touches to it, like the seat and handlebars. But I thought it'd be interesting to see, you know, how important this bike is, and how iconic it is. You know, we think of, you know, this bike came to being, the Bullet, was it in the late 50s, 60s? And I won't go into the whole story, but you know, the Indians buying all the tooling, machining, everything, taking it over to India and carry on making it there. And this is the bike which is so iconic in India. You know, it's a real, it's, when you put it in the pantheon of all those great motorcycles, I think the Bullet will be in that top 10 at least, when it may be even in the top 5 in the world of all those most important bikes. And the ones that have endured, you know, you look at the Harleys, the Bonnevilles and stuff, but this is the one bike that's probably stayed closest to its origins than any of those, you could probably say, certainly in its looks and its build. Well, what a great bike. And I thought we'd have just a little bit of chat why it's such a good bike, and why I've sort of fallen in love with it this time. And being in India has changed the whole dynamic of this bike for me. I've ridden these in the UK, you know, because this is the sort of later incarnation of the Classic 350. But riding it here in India has made so much sense. It's absolutely fantastic. So let's have a bit more of a delve into it. So when you look at the bike itself, you know, it's pretty simple, isn't it? You know, it's a real basic 2 wheels, seat, tank, you know, handlebars. But what I found really interesting about this, getting this into riding it now in India, was really the, you know, we see this problem in the UK with this bike as being slightly underpowered, but in India you're not. You're actually one of the most powerful bikes on the road. And you might notice that if you watch the ride around that I've done, you'll see how I could keep up and overtake a lot of traffic with this bike. And there's a very good reason for that. It's because particularly here in Goa, we're only doing, you know, 20 miles an hour tops, 25, 30 miles an hour. Everything's in kilometers here, so the speed limit essentially is about 60 kilometers an hour in Goa in particular. So when you're riding around the streets, you're only in first and second gear. Of course, when you're in first and second gear in this bike, you're the king of the road, because you've got all that power just to do those little nippy overtakes, and the avoidance. We like a lot of avoidance here. So it's absolutely incredible, and it makes so much sense. I think I've only got into third gear a few times, haven't got into top. Well, actually, until I got into fourth gear once, I think fifth gear twice. Well, fourth and fifth gear twice, because you can't get one with it either. And that was just on the sort of motorways, when we stretched our legs from here, went to Old Goa and the Latin Quarter. But even then you were king, because everybody else is riding mopeds. The only bikes that were keeping up with you were people on their Himalayans, which is Himalayan and Indian here. They all say Himalayan here in India. Another Bullet. So you really are king of the road. That's really quite cool. let's have a quick look around the bike, and then we can just show you some of the subtle differences they have here in India. And there's only one or two. So let's have a quick look and we'll carry on the chat. So this is one of the things you won't see in back home, and that's the sari guard. And this is the first time I've really had a proper close look at the sari guard. So it's quite a substantial piece of kit, and it bolts to the rear peg, goes round, and I think it's a securing underneath the rear upright there. But what I had noticed, I hadn't realised before, that it does actually have a separate footrest, and that's because lots of the ladies and pillions that ride on this bike ride side saddle, so both feet come down here, and that's really cool. And it actually looks really good on this military version, which I think is great. And this has got the badging on it, the signals on there, so that's rather nice. We've also got the heel toe gear changer, which do we use that one in the UK? I don't think we do. I know it's an option, but I don't think many people tend to use that. We've got a chrome side stand. I'm not sure if that's standard on this bike. We've got the engine bars as well, which are quite nice, but the painted mud guards and stuff. Now, I don't actually know how old this bike is. I think it's probably a couple of years tops, but these bikes don't get cleaned or anything like that. You know, they, as far as I can tell, they're just left outside. Now, this is from the big Enfield main dealer here in Goa, which is a fantastic place to visit, and I've showed you that a little bit. But it's so cool. The only corrosion bits on this bike is the header, and that started to corrode. I'm not sure why that's gone so badly, but we're in quite a salt water area, so I've done a little video of lots of the bikes that I've seen sort of dead and dying on the side of the road, and you'll see how rusty some of those are, just literally just returning to the earth, which is really cool. And we got the twin seat, but I'll talk about that seat in a sec and why this bike makes so much sense over here. But the actual ride and feel of it is absolutely superb. You know, what a piece of kit. This bike in India retails for about £1,900. You know, what a bargain. Although it's not a bargain to the Indian population, because of their wages are so much lower than ours. But the actual, you know, when you realise what the bikes actually cost over here, it makes you weep. It really does. But I love the colouring. I know do you know what? I know it's a mock-up. You know, I'm going to call it a mock-up. But you know what? It's not tacky. It isn't tacky. It doesn't look tacky at all. I think it looks absolutely superb. It's just the right amount of, you know, I don't know, history in it. It's just the right amount of history on it. You know, I like all the stickers, and these are well done actually. And that's under the gel coat, the numbering there. You got, you know, RE green, made like a gun. The signals badge on there. But it just looks the part. Actually, I feel I might have to seek one of these out at home. These miniature ones, because it is so cool. It is so cool. You can distinguish the hire bikes from the proper road bikes, or the owned bikes, because they have a black number plate. So the black ones are hire bikes, and the white ones are for, you know, owned bikes, if you know what I mean. And that's how that works. So I've made several endings to this video, with that being on the Enfield Classic 350, and after we've been riding it these last couple of weeks, you know, it suddenly dawns on you that there's some other things you wanted to put into this. And so I've come back to the temple. The temple's behind me actually. This is a nice spot. It's sort of the quietest little spot I could find. But I like the Christmas decorations and the tree behind me. That's probably done for, you know, Lionel Messi or something, I don't know. But it suddenly dawned on me with this bike. You think, why did the Indians take the Bullet in the first place? What attracted them to it? You know, there's a big dog coming around the corner. We'll probably never know that. But when you ride this bike, you suddenly realise how perfect it is for this environment. You're not riding fast, you're always riding relatively slowly, you know, compared to our speeds at home. And that 20-30 mile an hour chug 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 is perfect, and this bike does this so well. I was in the Enfield dealer in Kellangut the other day, and we were talking about this bike, and I was sort of, you know, extolling the virtues of how I really enjoyed it. And me and the guy that were talking both said at the same time, because you're king of the road. And you're king of the road in India with this bike. You can hear these coming a mile off. When there's thousands of scooters here, and all of a sudden you hear thump, 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 thump. There's no other bike that's currently here that could be. You know straight away, you turn around and you know it's going to be a Bullet. And I'll tell you, some of these thumping 500s that come round, because you get these guys that really like to have that classic feel with their bikes. Some of the Indian chaps, you know, they're just like the rest. You know, we're all the same, aren't we? You know, like me, I'd like to have the that looks the part and all the rest of it, and we're the same all world over. And you hear these 500s come up, boom, 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 boom. They sound epic. But I just wanted to sort of come back to this bike there in terms of its why it's done so well in India and why it's persisted for so many years. There's nothing else that can match it. There really isn't. As a bike for pillion, for just touring around, getting in and out of corners, just over those little overtakes where I've cut quite a lot of video of us riding the bike, and I'm going to try and put as many of the tricky traffic situations where you start accelerating past trucks and things. And you leave all the mopeds behind, apart from the really fast ones. And when you come up behind people, the mopeds tend to move out the way slightly, because I think, Bullet coming. There's a Bullet coming. Because you know you're going to be faster than everybody else. You really are king of the road. And I suppose that's why I wanted to make this other ending to this video, was that never have I ridden a bike that was so perfectly suited to its environment. It's epic, absolutely epic. And when we have it in the UK, it's not where it came from really. I know, you know, hundreds of years ago it did, but it found its proper home, its spiritual home in India, and it is extraordinary. And you know, this bike, we've been in extraordinary heat, temperatures, you know, even when you're in traffic, you know, it's 35 degrees, and this bike has not missed a beat. It's just gone pop, 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 onwards and on, and you keep thinking, ooh, this is going to blow up any minute, this has got to blow up any minute. And you know what, it just goes on and on and on, this bike. And it sat in that monsoon last night outside the house. We got this little bungalow that we've rented on Airbnb, beautiful little place. And you know, monsoon is monsoon. It's not a storm, it's a monsoon. And I got on this morning, and it was just sitting out there, and I thought, I don't know if it'll start properly. Turn the key, boom, and off we went. And the other thing to remember, when you think of the petrol that you're putting into these, you know, we've not really bothered going to the main petrol stations anymore, although it's cheaper. You're probably paying about 95 pence a litre. Buying it from the little corner shops and things in the water bottles, you're paying about 120 a litre, something like that. But it's good just to support these guys. But you don't really know the quality of the petrol. And the other thing also to remember is they're using E20 here, which is 20% ethanol. ethanol, yeah. Where we're tending to put E5 in our bikes, we tend to, just to avoid that issue with the rubbers and all the rest of it. So they're using E20, but these bikes run fine on it, absolutely fine. That's all they're using, so they're not getting any problems. So it's quite interesting, isn't it? These modern Enfields are chugging away quite merrily on that. You're probably losing a bit of performance, I think, but you're travelling so slowly it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I think I'll make that the sign off. You know, it's been a slight revelation. I've always loved the Enfields, and you know I've got a few, but riding this here has just changed my mind that if I were to come back to India to do a big tour, this might be what I'd do it on. I think I'd have so much fun on it. I really do. So I suppose I'll sum up really. The Enfield Bullet, in a Carlsberg sort of way, probably the finest motorcycle ever made. And it's hard to argue here in India. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Take care, see you in the next episode. Love it.